you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP-TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP-TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP-TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and an opinion scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP-TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP-TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP-TV. Now you have more than a voice.
The federal government has announced new measures to eliminate examination malpractice in WAEC and NECO examinations from 2026 and beyond. The Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa, alongside Minister of State for Education, Professor Suweiba Saeed Ahmad, said the reforms are aimed at strengthening credibility, transparency, and public confidence in Nigeria's examination system. Key among the measures is enhanced question randomization and serialization. Although candidates will answer the same questions, the arrangement will differ for each student, reducing chances of cheating and collusion. Meanwhile, Voice of the People TV spoke with stakeholders who shared their thoughts, as the federal government says the measure are part of sustained efforts to protect the integrity of national examinations.
Some of the things have actually been in place. It's maybe not publicly documented or dead as they are trying to do now. But then, if now is the time to drag it and reinforce it, so be it. I think it's laudable because you would educate the academic levels over the years. We have seen it go up, go down, and at some time it's just at the level where you don't know whether it is up there or down there.
Academic integrity and honesty should become what we noise on the loudspeakers everywhere, and it should start from leadership as well. We should show that honesty pays, So Students and parents basically need to understand that you are preparing yourself for a future that you want to be proud of. If you are not prepared, the future will test that lack of preparation, and then the embarrassment you will face might be. That's why we have, quacks, we have, doctors, we have lawyers, we have all who are trying to cut corners because they didn't go to the rudiments and the solid foundation of the discipline. So all of those things are critical. You want to build a future that can stand the test of time. It's not by cutting corners or by engaging in sharp practices that you will get there. Read your book. Sit down with your book.
As this new law is set to reshape the future of public examination in Nigeria, stakeholders say its success will depend on effective implementation and strict enforcement across all examination centers. Matthew Ogunswada, reporting for Voice of the People Television.
VOP TV. Now, you have more than a voice.
Africa is on the move, a continent of rising voices, untold stories, and powerful transformations. From the streets of Lagos to the heart of Nairobi, from the mines of Congo to the tech labs of Cape Town, the African story is being written every day. Bold, dynamic, unstoppable. This is Africa News on Voice of the People Television. We don't just bring you the news. We analyze and bring you Africa's heartbeat, the politics that shapes our nations, the economies that drives our future, the cultures that defines who we are, the voice that must be heard. Africa News, Africa's voice, Africa's future. Where Africa speaks, the world listens.
Good morning and welcome to VOP this morning. I am Moses Humphrey, and of course, we have a few conversations that we'd like to dive into this morning. We would like you to come along with us. Do follow us across social media. It's VOP TV Live. That is at VOP TV Live across social media, and on YouTube at Voice of the People Television. That's how we appear. Now let's get into the conversations for this morning. Police tear gas residents protesting Lagos eviction and demolition. And also, we will be looking at federal government deploying military retirees to secure ungoverned spaces. And that, of course, are the conversations we'll be having this morning. So, come along with us.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. There are also, apart from those major stories, there are also other interesting trending stories. I am Chukwuma Okoro and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Jane Ogoye. Please stick with us.
Now let's get into one of the other conversations Nigerians are having. The Ebonyi State Commissioner for Arts and Culture has brought out a new policy. His name is Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Honorable Stanley Ogoye. Well, he has announced a ban on free production, yes, free movie production, shoots, and the use of artists without proper remuneration. Now that, of course, basically, this he has said is to ensure that talents are properly paid for what they offer, and also that content creators, movie producers don't take overdue advantage of young talent. He also named some artists, MC Walter and a few others that he has seen carry young talents along, take them abroad and expose them to greater platforms and the rest. And basically, this is a good initiative, if you ask me, to ensure that young talents are, they have a voice, they have people who ensure that they get paid. Now, I would speak from a position of one who started out acting back in the day. Sometimes people are taken advantage of because they know that you're new, you're seeking recognition, and so they take advantage of you. Sometimes they tell you, okay, we'll pay you this, but they don't pay that. And other times they tell you, look, this is free. Now, there are two sides to this. The fact that this will help curb excesses in the sector, especially where people are taken advantage of. But on the other hand, there are also young producers, young creators who don't have funding and still want to put out, little things, put out projects out there as a way of launching what they have. Now, they may not be able to pay. Now, this policy might stifle their creativity if they're unable to gather funds and pay those that they will use, especially students, all right? Those, students who get into production and the rest. Now, and also there are those who volunteer for free as a way of honing their own skills. Will they be compelled to collect money as well? So we need to ensure that the policies are properly spelled out. So one person is not prevented from, honing his own skill, getting into the creative sector, and the other is not taking advantage of somebody else. I think there's a lot that needs to be done before we can say, yes, let's swing into action and do this.
Yes, Moses, I like your position. There's a lot to be done, before we get into all of this. But I think Ebonyi State has this peculiar way of, of being in the news for the wrong reasons. When I say wrong reasons, I don't say that. I'm not trying to mean that, look, what they are trying to do is not correct or that it is not good. But it lacks foundation, basically. It lacks foundation, basically. Like this one now, how are you able to enforce it? It's about the issue of enforcement. Like free shootings and unpaid productions, When you say free shootings and unpaid production, is it that, okay, before people get into shooting, they have to come and pay the relevant agencies or that, look, artists, before they appear on a movie, have to come and show you, look, this is how much I've been paid and all of that. I understand that we need to, build the industry so that people are not shafted in one way or the other. But it's a problem of implementation. It was in this same Ebonyi State that there was the issue of regulating house rents came up. I think that was last year. Sometime last year, they said, well, tenants, before you do this, landlord, before you do this, you have to do all of that. And I think there was a lead on how much a person could charge, in a particular location and all of that. And we were like, well, industry standards, is it the role of government to regulate house rents and how much landlords are supposed to take, how much tenants are supposed to pay and all of that? These are good things, but at this level that we are, having to talk about how to enforce rules, it's very easy to churn out rules as we see them, as we have them. In Lagos here, we tried it. Somehow it worked, because at some point, we saw the governor of Lagos State, was it Ambode then or who? On top of my head, I can't remember, but one of these governors, recent governors, no, it was Raji Fashola that said at some point, you should not collect more than a year house rent from tenants. Because his argument then was that when somebody gets a new job, he doesn't get paid 2 years salary advance. So when you expect him to get the 2 years house rent that he's going to pay you? And they said in certain locations, he can only collect 1 year. I think at that point I was a beneficiary, you know, because when I wanted to change apartment, and my landlady then was a lawyer, you know, and so, and fortunately for me, my wife is a lawyer too. So when we got talking, and it was like, Madam, you know now, there's a law that says you cannot collect more than 1 year. She said, no, let's not go there. I understand. So we had to pay 1 year. But in some places, it was difficult to enforce, to implement, you know. And what the commissioner is trying to do in Ebonyi State is going to benefit the newbies, the new starters and all of that, because we see situations where I think I met a few of them, and they complain that they spend long nights, you know, to stay awake, do shootings and all of that, and at the end of the day, they are paid peanuts. Yeah. You know, that there's always a time of price. You have to pay your dues and all of that. It's good that this area is regulated quite well, and the fact that the commissioner said, well, mentors, you know, mentor the young ones so that they can grow as big as they are, as they can. Because if you were not mentored, probably you will not be in the position that you are. This is a good thing, if you ask me.
It's a good thing, but just like you said, the state is notorious for coming up with some very great ideas
that cannot be implemented at this point.
And most times that are ill-timed. But away from that, I don't know so much about Ebonyi State's film industry.
And I was wondering
if they have a thriving industry compared to the Asabas of this world, Owerri, and even Lagos. So I think it's a good one, because for the longest time, a lot of filmmakers have exploited young people, all in the guise of giving free exposure. Just come and start. This is how we started. And at the end of the day, this finished product, these films are monetized and they make money. And you also know that in saner climes, once a film is produced, for years, as long as that film is being maybe put up on streaming platforms, the actors get royalties. But you know, in Nigeria, that's another discussion. But just like you said, it's a good thing, but the most important thing is implementation. Then ultimately, I like the idea of mentorship. At least maybe for a bit, it can help curb the whole sex for roles thing and all of that. It's a good one.
Would you think it will curb it or it will aggravate it?
Well, let's not go there.
Let's not go there. Because a lot happens in the industry.
Oh, yes, it is. It's a good one.
Anyway, let's move away from that and get into another interesting topic. Now, the Borno State government has commenced the return of refugees from Goza local government area who fled to neighboring Cameroon, with the first batch arriving in the state after more than a decade in displacement. The returnees, numbering about 300, were received in Pulka as a part of the state's ongoing efforts to resettle residents displaced by insurgency. According to the statement, the exercise follows earlier assurances by Governor Babagana Umaru Zulum during his visit to a Cameroonian refugee camp on December 8, 2025, where he pledged to ensure the safe and dignified return of Borno citizens living in exile. The state government said the repatriation program will continue in phases in line with its commitment to restoring communities and supporting the reintegration of displaced persons across Borno State. Yes, I recall when Professor Babagana Zulum made his promise that, look, he's working. He went to Cameroon at that point, December last year, and said, look, I'm working to return the refugees there, Nigerians that were displaced in Nigeria, and return to refugee status in Cameroon. And he liaised with the Cameroonian government. He thanked them, for keeping these people and said it was time for them to come back. He started making arrangements. And I'm happy that we are witnessing all of this. Now, 300 people have returned as part of the first return of refugees back to Nigeria. But there are issues here. How about the internally displaced people in Borno State? Have they returned to their homes? These ones that are returning now, are they returning to internally displaced camps, or are they returning to their homes? That is the question. I don't have that information now. But I still do know that Borno is still a flashpoint of insecurity. So if these people were, because at that point, I understand that the Cameroonian government gave them lands, seed money, and he also contributed seed money for them to do businesses at some point. So if they are doing good businesses there and living a very peaceful life away from their native land, why do you have to bring them back at this point? When insecurity is still a talking point in Borno State, we understand that at some point people are still being kidnapped, people are still being killed by terrorists in Borno State. So why the hate to return these people? Because I had a discussion with a group of friends about this in the evening of yesterday, and they were like, well, they are trying to start bringing people preparatory to 2027, where votes will have to, matter. You discover that even in the heat of the insurgency in 2015, I think Borno State posted in excess of 2 million votes for President Muhammadu Buhari. And this was the flashpoint of it's a hotspot at that point. So how did they manage to do that? So are we seeing this again? So in all of this, it's important that we know the status that we have displaced people in Nigeria who are not just in Nigeria as IDPs, but outside neighboring Cameroon who are refugees. And when you talk about Cameroon, at a point we had this joint task force between Nigeria, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. And what happened? These people were able to rout out the terrorists from their own countries. And where did they run to? To Nigeria, and we have all them.
Even Niger at some point had to pull back because they saw that
Nigeria was not forthcoming. The government was complicit. And so if we have a situation where during the joint task force operations, we couldn't play our own part, and Cameroon did, and for like 2 years or more, they have even harbored our own people. Why the haste to bring them back? That is one thing that we need to find out.
I think I really loved what you said, that they're bringing them back to come and join the internally displaced people. And so I'm wondering, what's the essence of bringing them back? What infrastructure?
Are they going home?
Are they going home?
Or are they
coming back to Rions?
Because I know that there are still IDP camps in Borno State.
Yeah.
So where are you taking them to?
And I'm wondering, 10 years is not a small, 10 years is a decade. So that means children have grown.
Yes.
It means that there are a lot of unfulfilled dreams. There are a lot of thwarted ideas. And then you're bringing them back home to compound the situation in here. I never could have even thought that we had refugees in Cameroon. I never knew that. And so it was rather shocking.
And these people are stateless because at the point of birth, they were not born in Nigeria, and Cameroonian government will not give them citizenship.
So they are what? How do we describe them?
They are stateless, So probably when they come back now, you having to
reintegrate
them into society. Children that were born in IDP camps and all of that. You can imagine, what goes on in IDP camps, even in the midst of the horror, that people pass through.
Oh, well, so let's move on to our next story. So operatives of the Nigerian Police Force, NPF, have arrested 6 suspects for allegedly hacking into a telecoms company in Nigeria to divert airtime and mobile data worth 7.7 billion. Disclosing this in a statement on Wednesday, the force spokesman, Benjamin Hundeyin, said the suspects allegedly gained unlawful access into the core systems of the telecoms company. According to him, a substantial amount of money was traced to the suspect's bank accounts. The breakthrough followed a petition by the Nigerian Telecommunications Company, which reported suspicious and unauthorized activities within its billing and payment infrastructure. Investigations revealed that internal staff login credentials had been compromised, granting threat actors unlawful access to core systems. So for me, the amount is staggering, Mr. Okoro. 7.7 billion naira. What do you think, Moses? It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is a lot of money.
And the compromises, it's worrisome. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot. And in fact, what I think, I don't want to say it on air because it might not be very, very pleasing.
Please say it.
It's not pleasant, as a matter of fact. Because the telecom company, in as much as I don't condone crime, in as much as I don't, encourage criminality and all of that, but I think that the telecom companies, whichever of them it is, have unduly ripped off Nigerians, and in terms of the services they render, in terms of how they relate with Nigerians, downtime, drop calls, internet fluctuations, and all of that. But these young men, I don't know how. So what it tells me is that their system is even vulnerable.
That's what I wanted to say.
Their system is vulnerable for these people to hack into it, crack it open. And 7.7 billion. There was a certain telecom company. I think they billed them how much? Was it 100 billion or 100 million naira fine?
The major telecoms company, you mean? The major one?
No, there was one in particular that the federal government at some point said, because of your operations in Nigeria, because of, I'm looking for the appropriate word to use now, because of non-compliance, with our guidelines and all of that, you have to pay a certain 100. I think, was it 100 million or 100 billion? I can't recall, but it was huge now. And after a lot of back and forth, the National Assembly intervened, and there was a reprieve, and they paid a certain amount of money. But 7.7 billion naira is a lot of money. Beyond what the government, what the security agencies have done to ensure that they track these people, it also goes to tell us that, look, intelligence is not a problem in this country.
Oh, yes.
Our security agencies,
we keep saying this every time. Like they want to work, they work.
If they want to work, they work very well. You know, they work very well. Nothing is beyond them.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the intelligence that they have within the security sector, how do they use them to protect Nigerians? That is the main issue. So we see some kind of political infiltration, some form of political compromise, you know. Oh, because my people are involved. Okay, let's not go there. But we have information that these are the people causing problems. And we look through the numbers and see, oh, well, certain people from this particular ethnic group and this and that are involved. So let's just keep it low. Let's allow it to lie low. We'll sweep it under the rug and all of that. That is why we are having problems. If we become very truthful to ourselves, if we tell ourselves the honest truth, this country, we have the human assets, you know, to solve any problem that we have in this country. Look at how they were able to crack some people arrested in Kano, some in Abuja, some in other parts of the country. Look at the coordination and all of that. But when it comes to, insecurity,
the bandits, we are busy giving
excuses and all of that. It's quite unfortunate.
I think even more worrisome, what we should also be bothered about is also the fact that they said that internal staff login credentials have been compromised.
No, there's always the insider
complicity,
you know.
Yeah.
Like what my people will say in Igbo language, that is the rat inside told the rat outside that there is fish in the cabinet. Okay. So when these things happen, you discover that there's always insider information, insider collusion. So because there's no way they'll have just from the blues cracked that thing without information from inside.
That's true.
All right, then let's take a minute. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll be looking at headlines from the dailies.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world, because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We break in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Now, let's look at the headlines from the dailies. The Guardian is up first, and these are the window headlines. Senate confirms tax reform law intact. A Senate to debate Electoral Act amendment bill today. I'm still shocked by Yusuf's defection to APC, says Kwan Kwanso. Despite demand, 2.5 million meters may rot away as federal government discourage trade blames. Oshun anoints LG officials. I beg your pardon, I take that one again. Oshun appoints LG officials as Algon factions bicker over control. Police disperse protesters over demolition of structures in Makoko. And also, Sokoto airstrike reopens sovereignty debate as Akpabio, Ningi differ. Sanwo-Olu urged to intervene in Oloja steel dispute and the bottom strip there. Telcos risk $8.85 million fines over poor telephone service as NCC plans sanctions. Now, those are the headlines on the cover page of the Guardian newspaper.
And on the front page of the Punch newspaper, outrage over police crackdown on Lagos anti-demolition protesters. Police tear gas protesters at National Assembly, make arrests. Activists, rights groups slam police. Desiani lavished over 4 billion naira in London luxury store, UK prosecutors. NUPRC opens 50 oil blocks for bidding. 2027, APC moves to manage defection game, internal crisis. Gunmen abduct pregnant woman in Ondo community attack. Nigeria earns 55.5 trillion naira from crude oil sales in 2025.
Now let's quickly run through the Nigerian Tribune with the window headlines. Osun LG crisis. Tinubu will call Oyetola to order. That's coming from Adeleke, governor of Osun State. Says court sacked APC chairman. Court sacked APC chairman lack mandate to stay on in councils. Police arrest 6 suspects over 7.75 billion naira telecom fraud. Recover 2 residential houses in Kano, 2 mini plazas, 400 laptops, 1,000 mobile phones. APC governors meet NWC, that's the National Working Committee. Endorse timetable for convention, commend ongoing e-membership. More stories from the Nigerian Tribune. Naira strengthens to record 1,400 to $1 at official market. I'll take that again for emphasis. Naira strengthens to record 1,400 naira per dollar at official market. Adekunle Ojora dies at 93. Our condolences. Now the big story. Man laments energy cost as Peter Obi knocks Tinubu over electricity stability. More than 676.6 billion naira spent on alternate energy costs in half year of 2025. That's coming from manufacturers. Police tear gas anti-demolition protesters at Lagos Assembly Complex. Oil-rich community reps seek FG intervention over rift between Ondo, Ogun. Still at home, Soludo vows clamp down on more markets. Insecurity, 2 Kwara LGS declare 24-hour curfew. That's it from the Nigerian Tribune.
And that's pretty much how far we can go on newspaper headlines at this time. At 10 o'clock, we'll go deeper into those headlines, making sense of them all. In the meantime, let's dive into one of the conversation for this morning. That's police tear gas residents protesting Lagos eviction demolition. That's talking about the Makoko demolition. Well, let's x-ray this story when we come back from this break. Stay with us.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing. And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
Mr. Familoni, and here's to VOP TV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
My name is Made Kuti, and you're watching VOP TV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening on your screen. Introducing VOP TV. Now streaming on SLTV channel 264. From breaking news to captivating conversations, news analysis, giving you all sides to the story. We bring in-depth discussions on the issues that matter, from politics to sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. VOP TV on SLTV channel 264. Join us as we redefine what television means to you. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe. Hunger no get religion.
And scan the human interest in trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television. Don't just react, understand. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more, tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as they hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
In a world where power shifts its every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. And if you are just joining us, this is VOP This Morning. Now, residents of Makoko protesting against demolitions at the Lagos State House of Assembly complex, Alausa Ikeja, on Wednesday were dispersed by the police officers at the venue as the security operatives fired tear gas at them. The protesters had gathered at the assembly complex to demand an end to forced evictions and the demolition of homes in communities across the state. While some demonstrators displayed photographs of demolished houses and displaced families, while others held images of children and elderly persons said to have been affected by the demolitions. Chanting solidarity songs and slogans including "No justice, no peace," "Makoko is not a slum," and "Console the people," the protesters repeatedly called on Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to halt further demolitions and engage affected communities in dialogue. But speaking to journalists at the scene, activists described the demolitions as inhumane and in violation of existing court orders restraining forced evictions in some waterfront communities. Let's take a look at the video. It's up there in the screen and just see what went down yesterday, between the protesters and the police at Alausa. Yes, that's it from Alausa, the Lagos State seat of government, where policemen had to use tear gas, to disperse protesters who had gone to the House of Assembly complex to say, look, these demolitions are getting out of hand and we need the government to do something about it. Well, we have in the studio here with us, Maze Amobi Ihiemboro. He's a political affairs analyst and he will help us make sense of it. Good morning, Maze, and thanks for coming to VOP this morning.
Thank you very much.
Very well. And beside him, we have a seasoned journalist, Mr. Dele Fanimo. He's in the capacity of a political affairs analyst on the show. Good morning, Dele, and thanks for...
Good morning. I'm not a journalist.
Okay, a seasoned reporter.
Reporter is better.
Okay, beautiful. And from our Benin outstation, we'll be joined by Mr. Comrade Stanley Osaze. He's a public affairs analyst, member, Coalition of Civil Society Organizations. Good morning to you, Comrade Stanley Osaze. Okay, he will join us in the course of the show. And from Kaduna State, we'll be joined by Comrade Isaac Tanko, National Secretary, Middle Belt Generation Next. He's a public affairs analyst and advocate for good governance. If he's not in yet, he will join us in the course of the show. Let's come back to the studio where we have the two gentlemen here with us. Mas, let me start with you. I mean, protesters went around, they were initially around Ogoronshoki, Makoko area before they now reassembled at the Alausa seat of government house and in Lagos here. And they wanted to have audience with the government or whatever they went there to do, just to, express their grievances about how buildings have been demolished without consultations. They say, talk to the people, consult with the people, businesses and people have been displaced and all of that. And the next thing, boom, police came out, fired tear gas and dispersed all of these people. I would like for you to help us understand what should be the role of government. How should government handle, situations like this? You recall that there's been this back and forth, especially over Shoki. At some point, they had to even block the highway, the express, leading into Ibadan and outer Lagos and all of that. And yesterday, it was at the government house. And government, instead of coming to say, well, what are your grievances? Can we talk with you? Police, the next thing was to tear gas the people. Help us understand the implication of all of this, especially in a democratic setting that we are in now.
Yeah, this action or inaction from the government depicts the level of impunity in the society. You see, government is there for the good of all. So when things like this happens, it behoves on government to, reason and then try to placate, stakeholders in the system. I do not think it is time for government to show power. It is time for government to show empathy, rather. Look at it. You can still pursue your policy, but in a much more humane manner. If the issue is that Makoko and Oroshoki area must be demolished, then it should be communicated sufficiently. Government will say they have given notice and all that. You continue to engage because the lives of people are involved. The health of the people are involved. A lot of things are at stake in this matter. So I think government, in trying to do what they think is right, should also have a human face. It is only natural. Now, if, unfortunately, I stand to be corrected, I've not seen the police trying to explain what happened yesterday. In their usual characteristics, you would have seen them trying to explain, what happened. This video, there was the video I watched where one guy was shot on the leg and all that and all that. No. So what are we talking about? Should live bullet be used in a situation like this? We need police to explain certain things to us. Okay. It's a democratic setting, and we should not be talking one thing and doing the other thing. That is very, very unfortunate.
Okay. Well, to respond to that very quickly, I think the Commissioner of Police in Lagos did respond, and in his statement when he addressed the press, unfortunately, we don't have that report ready at this time. But when he did address the press, he said, look, no live ammunition was used, tear gas was fired just to disperse the crowd. But then that contradicts a video we saw on social media where somebody was being carried away with a gunshot wound to the leg.
I know. Okay. Yeah. So what it means is that government should be a little bit more circumspect in dealing with situations like this. A lot of things are involved. It is not just the aesthetic beauty of the city that comes into the picture, but a lot more other things: livelihood, economic, reality of the time, and a lot more things. So this is where the government should begin to.
Government should be actual, especially when we have conflicting reports between what the police said and what we see, on video, or what we saw on video here. Let's bring Mr. Fanimo into this conversation. Then let me ask you, do you have a problem, with the government demolishing waterfronts to beautify them, and what's your take on that? The action of the government in ensuring that, look, these waterfronts are beautified, livelihood there, make beautiful, like in Senna climes, in places that you have traveled to outside this country. You see how waterfronts are and how beautiful they are. No? Do you have a problem with what the Lagos state government is doing?
You see, for you to properly situate an answer to this question, all you need to do is just travel on 3rd Mainland Bridge on your right and see no slums.
Okay.
Planks over water. Canoe moving from one point to the other. No toilets, no facility. So, for me, this demolition is right. Because one, you are saving lives.
Saving lives?
Okay, but
yes.
They are saying they are saving lives. And you know that this demolition is not a new thing. We've seen it happen at Ijorabadia. We've seen it happen at Ilaje.
Morocco.
Every few
Morocco
years,
is what is Lekki today.
Every few years, these bulldozers arrive. Why has the Lagos state government not made like a humane resettlement plan for these guys?
You see,
so that when you demolish,
you
can limit those grievances.
You see, for me, I have seen some of these things happen, and I have been close to government to see. Do you know that sometimes 1 year, 2 years notice will be served, and repeated consultation will be held, but these people will be recalcitrant. I've also seen a house that had been marked for demolition, and people were told to move out of that house until the day bulldozer comes. That's when they will start scampering.
But Makoko, thousands of people live there.
Let me tell you, thousands of people lived in Morocco until the then governor,
military guy.
No, Rasaki Raji.
The military guy.
Yes, came to demolish. There is a particular road in Ibadan. That road is called Bashon Road. Civil servants who are privy to that law that there should be certain setback to the main road, and that road was designed as dual carriageway way back when James Benwon was the governor. That should be around the 70s and 80s. Now, same civil servants built close to the road, define government, praying that let no governor think about this road. But a governor came, Ajimobi, and thought about it that this road should be dual carriage. He demolished. And when people started protesting, he showed them the master plan. There was no compensation paid to anybody. You see, let's be, yes, if you tell me there should be human face to this, I don't mind that. But the law is the law.
All right, then. Let me ask you this question. Yes, you painted a terrible picture of the ambiance, the topography when you're on the 3rd Mainland Bridge, what you see, shanties on waterfronts, yes, and the rest of them. Terrible picture.
And it's a place for, it's a den for criminals.
Well, that's your summation. But terrible
that
picture, that you know. Okay, terrible picture, I must say. But then, have we stopped to question why people decided to pitch their tents by the waterfront if they had better accommodation? Do you think that those people, aside from those who fish, which basically puts them closer to their source of livelihood, which they have been taken away from forcefully, all right, would regular human beings, I don't know if you've really been there.
I've been there. I've been in Makoko.
Now, I can tell you that I have been there.
I've been there.
I have been there
on a number of occasions.
Now, when you go there are dumps that have formed the heap, and they build on those heap. In fact, when you step on it, it feels like you're stepping on, some sort of waterbed, and it could give way at any time. And if you speak, or if you've ever spoken to those people, you realize they're not happy where they are. They have mosquitoes to deal with. They have, other things that could
even waterborne diseases
to deal with. But if government, like my colleague asked you, shouldn't there have been some sort of provision made before they have been forcefully evicted?
You see, for me, I just said it, that I'm also in line with these call for human face when it comes to issues like this. But sometimes the recalcitrant nature, some people believe that it is their birthright to be in Makoko. They want to stay there at all costs. There are violence in Makoko. There are chiefs in Makoko who feel that once they move out of that place, their holds on their subjects would be diminished. So they want to hold on at all costs. But the point is, if a place is not safe, what if tomorrow comes and there is a major natural disaster in that place? Well, it is same on this table that we'll be discussing that government should have demolished and moved these people out of this place rather than allow this massive.
But we know the failure of government over the years. Government hasn't bothered.
I'm not holding for government. You understand? But what I'm saying is it's a two-way thing.
Okay.
It's a two-way thing.
Okay.
Government should at least, because they pay tax too, and so they have a right.
Okay.
They should also look at how they can be rehabilitated.
All right. Then.
But that movement is inevitable.
All right then. Mazi Amobi, is there a difference between forceful enforcement of environmental laws and forceful eviction? Because the government is talking about environmental laws here now. But what we saw, or what we've seen in the past days from sometime towards the end of last year up until this time, has been forceful eviction. Is there a difference?
There's a thin line. It's not pronounced. There's a thin line between the two concepts you have enunciated here. But I think that over time, if government has been very intentional and deliberate about, relocation process, you see, there are people in the society. We have the bourgeois, the proletaire, middle class, and what have you, as encapsulated by Karl Marx. And those people, these structures of people in society, have differential access to wealth and power. There are people who can build their own houses. There are people who cannot build their own houses. There are people who can, at best, be tenants, as it were. There are people who cannot build their own houses. And government is meant for all. So what government should do is to identify those that have no capacity to build on the houses on their own, and then make deliberate effort to relocate them. It is a deliberate. That is why government is there, to minister unto the needs of the citizens. So once you identify vulnerable groups, you'll be able to, as it were, do something. Like now, if over the years, like government has made us to understand that it is, they have been given notices. If over 3, 4, 5 years, government has relocated them, built a structure and said, look, okay, from now, you people should move to A. What government is doing now will be eulogized. People will, give government thumbs up because they have made an intentional effort to ensure that the structure of the citizens that cannot hold on to their own are also part of the society. That is where I fault the government. But on the whole, if you look at, just like Dele said, from the 10 mainland bridge, it's an eyesore. But that does not, you see, there are things you can manage. You look at the statistics, you look at the economic survival of the people, and some other things, then you begin to see how you can narrow the gap. That is my stake. There is need for government to be able to, show empathy to the citizen, in as much as government is also pursuing their policy, which they think is...
you raised a very important issue here, the issue of relocation. But I would like to go to Dele, because Dele seems to understand, the terrain very well. Dele, these people that we are talking about, the residents, are they natives? I mean, as
it's a mixture of...
It's a mixture, okay.
It's a mixture of the Aworis. Some people that migrated from the Republic that are basically fishermen.
Okay.
And then you also have other tribes around that place. But predominantly, the Aworis and the Ilajes.
So that place is their native land.
They are basically adopted
they only basically adopted the place. It's a shoreline.
First commerce, right?
It used to be a shoreline.
Okay.
Where people trade. They bring their fish, you buy, and then they go back.
Okay.
But over time, when the settlement became larger than what it used to be, they started looking for ways of erecting permanent structures.
You know why I ask this question? If they are natives, so that we'll be able to establish if government owes them any responsibility.
Well, there is a street. If you go to Bariga, there's a street called Ilaje Street, which basically speaks to...
So they are just like the nomads that you look at.
Good. You know what I'm driving at? We want to establish the fact that, look, this is their native land, and if government has to take them away from here forcefully, then they are, by law, obliged, to provide them alternatives.
That's not the case here.
Okay.
You see, around this Bariga, Ebute Meta, shoreline, up to Makoko, those places were trade routes.
Okay, trade routes.
When there was no mainland bridge or Kata bridge or anything. So you move from the island with a boat to come and sell your products here, and then you go back. But over time...
my question now, direct question
it's a mix.
It's a mix. So my direct question
various tribes.
I know you're not a lawyer, but are you able to tell us if, by legal obligation, the government owes them, apart from being citizens, who deserve good life, a better life, as it were, does the government owe them any legal obligation to say, look, we need to move you from here?
Beyond what we call human face. Legally, government does not owe them anything.
Well, some will disagree with you, and I think we're trying to get one of the actors in this regard, Opeyemi Bamidele, on phone. If we can, we'll speak to him, because he's been an advocate for those who reside in Wurushiki area, which is also one of the areas affected in this. But let's get Taiwo Adewale into the conversation. Good morning to you, Taiwo. Welcome to the conversation. Taiwo Adewale joins us from Abuja. Please do unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning to you. Good to have you. Good to have you.
This ongoing conversation. All right. Talking about the crucial issue currently, you can see that I think over time, the government has been kind of silent on most of the important issue in this country. The police people, they should have a better way of addressing issue that involve the public, instead of be using the force every time to be addressing people, the so-called people of our dear country. So the issue of tear gas of the people that are or the Protestants at this time in Lagos, you can see that it do so much harm than good. The people that actually know about this and those who did not even know, they were affected by what was done. I think it is a duty at this time. We are calling on the government at this time to try as much as possible to please all these issues that are ongoing. They should try to curb it in such a diplomatic manner or through negotiation. People can hear. If they do what people really want, there is no need for protesting. When people protest peacefully, governments will try as much as possible to address the personnel, to also give it in a peaceful manner. Instead of
thank you very much, Taiwo. Yeah,
every time.
Thank you for your contribution there. Thank you. Now let's bring this back to the studio. Well, I do hope that we will be able to connect to Barrister Asim Adams, because we're trying to get him online as well, so we get the angle of the law into all of this. But we still have with us Mazi Amobi Ehegburu. Now, Mazi, how does this action align with Nigeria's obligation under international human rights treaties on housing?
Before that, I want us to, downplay the issue of legal implications. Whether government, whether it is lawful or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
But please do respond to the question.
Yeah. Let's downplay the issue of legal and then look more at the human angle. Because if you delve into the legalese of what,
because there's a court order on some of these areas.
This issue
there are court orders saying that don't proceed with demolition.
Government over time has been known not to abide by orders and whatever. It depends on where
government. Sorry, please.
I said government over time have been known not to abide by court orders. It depends on where their bread is well buttered. They begin to look at obeying court order or not obeying court order.
So basically, the government of Nigeria doesn't care about the people.
That's what I'm saying. If you get into the legalese, it becomes difficult. The problem will be intractable and it will last for too long. That is why I am downplaying the issue of legal aspect, so that we can now come one-on-one and discuss humanity.
No, but,
that's my point.
Mazi, I understand
that's my point.
I understand your position, but the truth of the matter is that this issue cannot be dealt without the legal implications, because some people have gone to court.
No issue, every issue can be trashed out. It depends on who is involved.
Maybe those people will now go to court.
It depends on those who is involved. If you come and tell me, okay, let's talk, and I see sincerity on both sides that they are geared towards solving this problem, every person will calm down. About the international angle you are talking about, you say, okay, there are international standards, which Nigeria should also, obey. That is why I said the legal may not be able to. What legal will do is to suppress, and then the thing will come back again.
My direct question is, how does these actions by government and its agents align with Nigeria's obligation under international human rights treaties on housing? Have we flouted that in terms of
the place obviously
demolishing structures By the way, if you've spoken with the residents, a lot of them will tell you that lives were lost.
Yes.
Children died.
Absolutely.
Because this demolition was carried out at night time.
Absolutely.
And so some were still sleeping, and they were they were unable to run out of their housing.
Stakeholders should judge. You know, if we have
doesn't make it right that the place is a slum.
You are talking about.
It makes it right to demolish at night time.
Sorry.
Doesn't make it right demolition at night time just because the place is a slum.
No. You can't do that at night. Of course, it depends.
So the issue of compensation now comes in again.
Yeah, you see,
seeing that lives were lost.
If you go there, the structures are not, of good ones. I don't know how to, but they are slums.
Isn't it the role of the government to provide housing?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. That they should have an intentional plan to relocate this people.
Is it the role of government to provide housing for people?
To the vulnerable, yes.
To the vulnerable?
Yes.
Okay.
Some people can, on their own, erect their own houses. There are some people in the society who cannot. Remember that this also has political implications. Why did the government of the day not do this in their first term? There are, if you look at, the political, get the INEC to give you the quantum of votes in Makoko, you'll be amazed.
Manzi, I just wanted to say, you just touched on my next question.
Yeah.
Government keeps saying illegal structures, illegal settlements, but these guys have been there for a very long time. The local government authorities recognize them. Some of them even pay levies. Some of them even vote in elections. So at what point do we consider them illegal? Is it when we need to beautify the land or beautify Lagos?
That is the point. It depends on the personal idiosyncrasy of the leadership at that time.
All right.
They decide. I have just given you a tip. Babajide Sanwo-Olu couldn't have done this in his first term.
Well, he had a lot doing. He had a lot doing at the time.
Now he can jolly well do it because nothing is at stake for him.
Well, that may not be the case, really. Well, we do have one of those who is directly affected, Mr. Okpeyemi Bamidele. Good morning to you, Okpeyemi. Welcome to the conversation. Now, we've been talking about, compensation and non-compensation. Well, you've been here before. I think we had you here towards the end of 2025, where you talked about the plight of those residing in Oworoshoki and the conversation you've had with the Bale or the Oba of that area, and governments now coming to demolish houses. And I know that you've been in the forefront of protesting against these demolitions. Tell us quickly, please, how we got to this point where protests, took place, how you converged at the National Assembly, what transpired, because the police is even saying that, look, live ammunitions were not used, but we saw a video where some individuals complained of being shot. Is that real, or are they just trying to make the police look bad here?
Good morning to you. My name is Okpeyemi Ogunlami Nobamidele. With regards to the occurrence of demolition and protests surrounding it in Lagos specifically, we've seen that it is not about development, but about land grabbing. And we need to put the facts straight that the government, as you rightly mentioned, wouldn't have done this in our first term. But while they were saying that, they already gained it, and they are saying that there is no formidable opposition that could stand their vices at election regarding towards their second term. So talking about the demolition, we've seen all over. And internationally, the government of Sanwo-Olu got $200 million to develop slums. And their own way to develop slums, to make the work known to the outside world, is to evict the less privileged, who are the major set of people that have enthroned them. So, in Oworoshoki, it is evident, and we don't need to mince word about that. It is pure land grabbing. Governor Sanwo-Olu didn't say anything, didn't say a word, and I keep repeating that. He didn't say a word with regards to Oworoshoki. Now, he could say something with regards to Makoko, because Makoko had gotten that international attention before this time. And governments will keep saying civil society is getting a lot of money, crying. According to Olu, he said, we are crying more than the bereaved. It means he knows that these people are really bereaved. And this government, if we were to be in a military era, it would have been justified. What government wants development for cities without sitting with community members? But you just want to infuse and impose development on the people. Now, this thing kept going on, and we decided, okay, all the slums area, let them come together. Let us see what we could do. Oworonshoki, Makoko, Ajegunle, my 12. Let us form a formidable force. Speak to the government. Perhaps they will listen. So what they did in Oworonshoki replicated itself.
So you spoke to the government
yesterday at the National Assembly. What are you saying? You said something.
You had meetings with the government, right?
The meeting, there was no sitting. There was no meeting allowed. No conversation. They didn't allow it.
Okay, so if I understand,
we proposed meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
We proposed meeting with the government, but they twisted it.
At what point?
The only thing they could send to us. You asked?
At what point, please? At what point did you propose the meetings?
That we proposed meeting?
Yes, please.
In Oworonshoki, community members went to the House of Assembly. They wanted to meet with the State House of Assembly. The only thing they said was, go and meet your Oba. I was in the meeting. That's towards Oworonshoki. And in Makoko, the only thing we saw when we proposed meeting, they bought over the youth leader when they went for meeting. The youth leader in Makoko just started supporting after having a meeting at the House of Assembly with the governor. After taking picture with the governor, the youth leader there took side with the government. So if we, for example, someone like me will never have a meeting. If I have a meeting with the government, I will sell out. And if I don't want to sell out, I will keep quiet because of my life. There will be threat to life. Actually, there's threat to our lives already in our community. We cannot enter our community as we want. We cannot work as we want. Our lives are in danger because we are fighting for human rights. These things cannot continue like this. Now, House of Assembly yesterday, people proposed to talk to them.
Yes.
As we go there, our comrades Soweto approached and they demanded to meet people. Let's have some of our delegates enter into the building. Let's have a meeting. Let's know the way forward. They said the house was on recess and there was no one to talk to. Oh, if you are not willing for us, we will remain here. People sat down.
Okay.
After a few minutes,
would you say
tear gas, gunshots? The state police.
Were there live ammunitions? Were there live ammunitions fired yesterday?
There were live ammunitions. Yes.
So this contradicts.
And people were taken to hospitals.
Okay. Talking about reaching out to the government.
If government isn't willing, the only time we've seen so far that the state government want to approach people is during the election. You just want to tell them, and then during the election, on the electioneering day, you want to impose your candidacy. You want to force your people to vote for you. That's not what we need in Nigeria.
Okay, that's not what we need, according to you. Now, I would like to ask you, you talked about meeting with the government. You got there yesterday, they said that the house was on recess. Are you in touch with the member of the House of Assembly that represents Oworonshoki in the Assembly? Are you in touch with him?
I would like to be very polite here. We were in touch with him. The first thing he said right from 2023 was that he knew nothing about the demolition. We moved ahead to the local government, and the next thing our local government chairman said was he knew nothing about it. Another thing. And then we kept saying a deafening silence from a governor that should be the protector of people's lives and property. That's Governor Sanwo-Olu. All of them claimed unaware.
Okay.
That was exactly the case of Oronshoki. And today, we've been seeing, at least we have uncovered 3 different estates advertising the lands of Oronshoki.
All right. You know why I asked that question? Because according to you, when you got there yesterday, they told you that the house was on recess. If you were, are you able to confirm in actuality if the house is on recess at this moment?
That was what we were told at the gate.
So, you know, why I asked you is because if you were in constant touch with the member representing you in the assembly, up until day before yesterday, he would have been able to tell you, look, the house is on recess. This exercise is not going to fly now. That's why I asked the question. So when was the last time? When was the last time you reached out to him?
Answer this question as a reasonable Nigerian. Our representatives are not for us. That's why they will not listen. We do not even have access to them. Like in Koshofe, if you call him 1 week, he will not pick up to this time.
All right, Dr. Emi, we'd like you to stay with us. Let's bring Barrister Asim Adams into the conversation and get maybe some perspective on what the law says about issues like this. Barrister Asim Adams, good morning to you. Welcome to the conversation. Now, let me ask you a question I asked earlier, asked one of the guests in the studio earlier. The actions of government now, how does it align with Nigeria's obligation under international human rights treaties on housing, provision of housing for the people, ensuring that people have a roof over their heads, and then forceful eviction?
You see, the first thing we need to know is that all sovereign nations of the world do have their municipal laws and their laws of the country, which is the constitution. So any treaty or agreement, international one that they are entering into or bilateral, is subservient to the sovereign law of the land. In the case of Nigeria, housing, whatever, UNESCO, I don't know, those bodies that, mandate give some conditions precedents. What happens in that case is that our constitution, which is the 1999 waterfronts, whether rocky land, even the land that I'm staying here right now, or the property, the land that I'm occupying here, and the one you are occupying there belongs to government. It's the 1978 Act. Obasanjo brought it as a decree. That's a discourse for another day. It says all lands belongs to government.
Does this imply that government can choose when it wants to evict occupants of the land, legal occupants or illegal, as the case may be, without a provision of an alternative for those occupants?
It depends on the position of the people occupying a particular premises or land. If you, for instance, know that the land you occupy is not your property and you go there to build your houses or you erect structures, and under the laws you are not supposed to be there, there's a lane there and evict you, but the requisite notices must be given. The requisite notices is not an automatic eviction.
What's your definition of requisite notices? Because in the case of Makoko and Oronshoki and some of these areas that we're talking about, those who protested at the Lagos State National Assembly, at the Lagos State Assembly yesterday, a lot of them said, look, though notices were served, but the demolition took place at night time, and there's a case in court saying that, look, this demolition should be stopped. But regardless, government went ahead.
If let me just, if you just give me some minutes, I will explain.
All right, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
You know, there are two types. The government comes in there and they know that, yes, you have a title to land. The land belongs to you customarily, otherwise. You have genuine documents to that property there. The government can compulsorily acquire under our constitution. That is what the constitution says. If there is need for government to acquire that particular land for a purpose that will benefit the general public, the government can come and revoke your CFO and the title that you have. But the same constitution says that insofar as the government has the right to acquire this property from you, compulsorily, they have to pay adequate compensation to you. That is for those who have title to land.
Adequate compensation.
Title, etc.
Adequate compensation.
There's compensation, yes. Then the other one are those who do not have any right to that particular land. They just move in, they see an expanse of land. They move in there, they build what they call batchers, you know, for everything. They just reside there. In the time we come, the government has need for that particular land because the land belongs to government. Because you do not have, you know, legal title to stay there, you are regarded as a squatter. And a squatter under the law deserves 7 days notice.
Okay.
7 days notice as a squatter. And after that 7 days, they can serve you another 7 days notice, as the case may be. That's making it 14 days, in line with the law. And if you don't get out of the place, the government ought to also approach the court. That is my own legal opinion. The government ought to approach the court to get an order to evict the squatters or the illegal occupants on the land.
All right then.
Now, occupants on their own can still go to court if they feel threatened. Under Section 46 of 1, if they feel that they are right, what we call proprietary rights to property is being threatened, they can approach the court. And if the court says, hold on, don't do anything or don't demolish, don't do whatever, the government of the day ought to obey that particular court order. In essence, what I'm trying to say, that the demolition that took place in Lagos, Cocoa anywhere at all, for me was an illegal demolition. I do not know, yes, they serve notices, But when you serve notice, the law, the Supreme Court has said that be you government, be you an individual, you want to take possession of your property that has been occupied by adverse title holders, that you cannot resort to self-help. Self-help means you cannot go there and begin to demolish without the order of court to do that. So I don't think the Lagos State government has an order of court to demolish, you know, those properties and those structures in the areas that people are protesting today. That is sad.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Asim Adams. Let's hold our thought. Let's quickly hear from Okpeyemi Ogulami. Yes, I think I got the name wrong earlier. Okpeyemi, please. Are you still there? Okay, I was just going to ask him about compensation, because I remember last time I spoke with Okpeyemi, he talked about the chief in the area, I think the Bale or something, compensating people with about 70,000 naira for, you know, for their houses. And the question on my mind was, what can 70,000 naira do for you, really? Can he help you get another apartment? or is it just to help you feed for that day? Because I am trying to make sense of it.
Let me, harp on the narrative Okoro pushed out earlier about whether Opeyemi has been able to liaise with his representative. I think it should be the other way around. Whether the representative has been able to, liaise with the community. You see, what happens in politics is that once election has come and gone, the politicians now kind of alienate themselves from the people. So it shouldn't be Opeyemi that should be, it is the representative of that community that should build a bridge between the community and the government, as it were, explaining government side of the issue, and then explaining the community side to also the government, and begin, so there would have been a lot of sanity within the area if the representative of that area is up and doing. So we must call out our representatives. It is not, in terms of, the merriment that, you see them. It is now that the duty of the representatives should come to the fore.
Okay, Maz, I understand your point. While not trying to defend my position, why I asked that question was, prior to going to the House of Assembly, did they tell him, look, this is what we want to do? Or exactly, you understand my position. If they were to go to the House of Assembly to meet the House in plenary or what, I think it is proper for them to have, reached out to him to say,
I know.
That was my point.
He should have hands-on this on the matter. He should be on top of it. That's
I agree with you.
He should be on top of it. So any step they want to take, he should be in the know.
Exactly. I'm happy that you brought us back to the point of
being representing them very well.
Okay.
I see lack of proper representation, because this cannot happen without his knowledge.
Well, he said that sometimes, like 2 weeks, you are calling him on phone, they can't reach him. Apparently, that was why they didn't know.
In in politically developed society, once you have this type of challenge, it is your representative that you call first.
Okay. And that was my question.
Yes, it is your representative. And the man should be, on top of situations, as it were. But to me, to my mind, with the scenario playing out, I think the man has alienated himself from, the community he's representing.
All right, then we'll move away from this conversation into another. Now, the federal government deploys military retirees to secure ungoverned spaces, improve security. But let's talk about this when we come back from this break. Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. People's Voice, Mondays through Thursdays, 4 p.m. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. Now, let's get into another conversation. Now, the federal government has unveiled plans to deploy military veterans to help secure Nigeria's ungoverned spaces as part of strategies to strengthen national security and drive economic activities in conflict-affected areas. Now, this followed the inauguration of an 18-member committee by the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, tasked with reclaiming ungoverned spaces for economic viability and repositioning the Nigerian Legion Corps of Commissionaires and Veterans. Now, speaking of the event, Musa said the deployment of veterans into ungoverned spaces would complement ongoing military operations by bringing experienced personnel into local security and development efforts, particularly in areas where state presence remains weak. According to the minister, the initiative reflects a strategic shift from an over-reliance on military offensives to a more inclusive and sustainable approach to security that tackles the socio-economic drivers of insecurity. And we still have with us to discuss this, Dele Fanimo, a public affairs commentator, Mazi Amobi Iheguru, also a public affairs commentator, and we have joining us virtually, we have Comrade Isaac Tanko, who joins us from Kaduna, and Barrister Asim Adams, still very much with us as we get into this conversation as well. But I would like to start off with Mazi Amobi Iheguru. Mazi, what do you make of this move? Veterans basically being called back to service, and some would say, yes, at least now they get engaged, and now they can make livelihood doing what they know how to do best.
Yeah, I want to look at it from this perspective. Why has it become necessary for this policy? I think it's a spin-off from, the lack of enthusiasm of our youth to get recruited into the armed forces. Because they've seen that a lot more people are no longer interested in getting recruited, in
with the problems we are facing right now in Nigeria, don't you think this is a better alternative?
No,
Seeing that these men,
yeah,
you don't need to train them anymore. They've already been trained.
I know. I'm telling you, where, the policy, took off from. Because recall, about 3-4 months ago, we were inundated with this idea of government recruiting, younger people into the armed forces. And reports, flying around is saying that that exercise is not yielding the desired effect. So little wonder why the government now turned to the veterans. I want to say that these veterans, has all their pensions, emoluments, and what have you,
that's
sorted?
My next question,
these are
actually.
the issues, that
was the next question I was
so
going to ask.
If they have not been sorted out, and then for them to start on a very clean slate, then this policy is dead on arrival.
All right, Dele Fanimo. Now, let me ask you that question. The issue of remuneration. We know how some of these people are treated after leaving service. Do you think they'll be loyal and committed, saying that for some of them, they've been poorly remunerated after service, and now they're being called back to service, basically? Are we going to see that commitment to serve the nation?
You see, the much I know about the military is it's a regulated environment, and it's a regimented environment. And particularly the NCOs, the non-commissioned officers, they are trained, their mind is trained towards obeying orders. And so, they would naturally, it's like you are on leave from your regular job. The moment you come back, there are certain things that comes back with you. You are re-energized. So these guys are going to work. That's one. Then two, with this, these so-called terrorists, they know that they are not likely to go away unchallenged anymore if they strike. The basic reasons why these so-called terrorists or bandits, whatever name you call them, had field days in the last 5-6 years was because these guys were disarmed. And they have them in numbers around Plateau and Plateau, Benue, Kogi, and Niger. As a matter of fact, before the 76 coup, 70%, if not more than 70% of NCOs, non-commissioned officers, were basically around that place, Langtang and all that. So that coup, that Oka coup, and then the Dimka coup decimated their ranks. Some of them were retired prematurely and all that. And they went back to their communities. These were the people that were securing those communities with arms. But when Buhari came, probably he had an agenda, I don't know. He mopped up all the arms in Plateau, Benue, Kogi, forced them to surrender their arms, even as low as being guns. So they became vulnerable.
Okay.
Today, if this sails through and these people are legally engaged, re-engaged back to the military, and they are armed, if you have retired soldiers, like 10 in a community, with the kind of training they have, they would fight those people. If they were meant to come and ravage that community in less than 1 hour, it would take them 5 hours. Enough time for reinforcement to come. So it's a very good idea, and I buy into it.
All right then.
Well, you know, for the longest time, we've always complained that some of these veterans have been neglected. We talk about welfare. So we have the welfare on one side, we have the pension, some of them protesting. So I'm wondering, these are people who are not even being treated well post-service, and you're bringing them back, though we can't discountenance the fact that they had some of the best trainings, and you're bringing them back to the war front when their welfare is still something.
You see, talking about welfare, you see, I am not in support of government not taking care of retirees, not even the military. Anybody that had served this country meritoriously without being dismissed from service, and at the terminal point, you leave with unblemished record, you deserve every right to your entitlements. And government should not delay it at all. And I tell you, one of the things these people fought for, which is affecting the police now, is that they thought that they should be removed from the new pension scheme.
Okay.
And government granted it. Perhaps Buhari, as an ex-officer in the military, a retiree, he also fast-tracked that. The police are still contending with it now. They are still on the new pension scheme, to the extent that a retired commissioner of police gets only 70,000 naira monthly as his retirement benefit. And the total sum some of them get is less than 5 million naira as payoff. So, but these people, they are enjoying that.
Okay,
the soldiers are enjoying that.
So the issue of welfare.
The issue of welfare, if there are other things that they need to get, they should use this opportunity to now that set to serve the country once more, to get some of those things.
All right, beautiful. Let's go to Barrister Asib Adams and continue with this conversation. Barrister Adams, good, thanks for staying with us. Now, we have information, I'm sure you have followed the conversation. We have information that, look, the Minister of Defense, retired General Christopher Musa, has made arrangements to bring back, veterans, retired soldiers, into the mix so that they can help fight the insecurity. Somebody listening to the chief of the Minister of Defense will easily come, or some people are of the opinion that, look, this is a tacit admission that the military itself, as presently constituted, is overwhelmed. Do you share that idea?
Of course, the Nigerian military is the only military that is not at a conventional war, but overwhelmed by insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, terrorism. So the military, they are overwhelmed in Nigeria, and there's no need for us to hammer on that. Most nations of the world, have similar problems. But what they do is like what the Minister for Defense has done now.
Okay.
To bring in those people they call veterans. In some countries, they call them the reserves. You know, the reserves are those who were military officers, but they are not active right now. And they have the dexterity of the military training, and they are very, very capable in handling arms, having been to war fronts, having undergone military training for decades. But either one or two reasons, they have to retire from the force. So they still have that requisite experience. The good thing about bringing veterans is that you do not need to retrain them again much because they have been trained. You know, so it's a good idea deploying veterans, you know, to add to the stock of Nigerian military capabilities and the numerical strength.
Okay, all right.
Of Nigerian military.
Now, Barrister Adams, if you admit that, look, the Nigerian army is overwhelmed, and we have a situation where you also approve of the fact that the Minister of Defense is bringing in his reserve list, you know, the reservists and all of that into the fray. Now, how would that speak to the fact that, look, at some point, Nigerians hear, oh, when the military is about to overcome the terrorists and insurgents and all of that, there's some kind of political implication in the mix. We hear somebody says, no, pull back and all of that. So these military veterans that we are bringing, what difference will it make? Are they coming in with some kind of, you know, a shield that takes them away from having to obey the military high command when the brigade commander or who says pull back? Are they not also obliged, you know, by the service code to obey their military commanders, who, by the way, some people believe have been politicized? That is why, according to them, we are not winning this war. So help us situate all of this within the political mix.
The point we are mixing here, we are missing the point, is that yes, there's a central command for the military. And what Nigeria ought to have done by now is to have what they call a war cabinet. Because Nigeria is fighting a war. It might not be that conventional war, but the war of terrorism, banditry, kidnapping is a very serious war. We ought to have a war command or cabinet under a strong military command like the Minister of Defense and the CNC, Nigeria. The problem, or what we are missing here, is this. And I want to send this message to the Minister of Defense. Bringing back veterans to govern the urban spaces may not tackle the issue of insecurity. It may not stem, you know, the issue of banditry, terrorism, etc. Except you add some other conditions to this.
And what are those conditions?
Effective. Number one.
Good.
Yes, number one, intelligence gathering. There must be intelligence gathering. Community policing. The people must be involved. Unemployment is at the heart of this thing too. Then you find out that there are no government presence in many of the areas that this banditry or whatever take place. What I mean by government presence, like Kajuru, how many police stations do you have there? The nearest military barrack to that place is about 400 kilometers away. If you have community policing etc., you find out that information will be passed through immediately, and before you know, they nip these things in the bud. And the other factor, because of time, is punitive measures must be, adopted. When you arrest a bandit or a terrorist, don't treat him with kids' gloves. Don't even give him the alternative of rehabilitation. Don't even give him the alternative of saying you want to de-radicalize. How do you de-radicalize somebody? So there must be punitive measures. The maximum punitive measure should be for those terrorists arrested, either by execution or by life imprisonment in solitary cells or whatever. Not this thing the government is doing that when they arrest, they bring in politics to say, the state government say they want to grant amnesty to people who came out from the forest. And they believe that is going to, end, insurgency and the banditry. No. So all these key points, together with deployment of veterans into the government spaces, will now form a module for them to work. Let me give you an example. We all travel by road in this studio. If you are traveling between Lagos to Benin City, you will see wide expanse of land, running to thousands of plots. Those areas inside the forest, there is no activity there. There is no government activity, no individual activity, etc. as the case may be. Those areas should be turned into farmlands. The area should be turned into farmlands. And if you have farmlands and you have presence of human, community, government there, if invaders come into that forest, within the next 2 minutes, the information will go around to security forces that some strange people has entered into the forest around or we don't know exactly where they are from. So government must do an all-encompassing, solution to this, not just bringing veterans. If you bring in the veterans, I support bringing the veterans, yes. But if you bring in the veterans, and the veterans are handicapped, one way or another, they're able to perform, it's going to be another problem. And also make sure that the veterans you are bringing, let the veterans work in the communities they know. Don't go and bring an Hausa Fulani from Sokoto to Edo State or to Niger Delta. He does not know the terrain here. How can he work? How can you take a Niger Delta man from Port Harcourt, from Sagama? You send him to the desert in Sokoto to go and fight bandits. It's not going to work because he does not know the terrain. He does not even have the equipment for him to do that. So there are those who are more equipped, like the Tuaregs. They should be the ones. So deployment.
All right then. Well, unfortunately, we've lost connection to Barrister Asim Adams there. The network has taken him out, but we hope to reconnect with him and get his concluding thoughts on this conversation. But let's go to Isaac Tanko, who is in Abuja. Isaac, well, what are your thoughts, your broad view on, a lot has been touched on already, but what's your broad view on the involvement of veterans to guard our ungoverned spaces, seeing that a lot of them were thankful that they left the military with their lives, and now they're being brought back to serve the fatherland. What do you, if this goes through, do you think this will be effective in fighting insecurity? Will they be willing?
Well, good morning and thank you for having me this morning. And good morning, our viewers. I'm from Kaduna, not Abuja.
Thank you for that correction. Thank you very much, Isaac Tanko. Go ahead.
I think in my own view, that is one of the most intelligent decisions ever taken by the Minister of Defense. Just that it will not be devoid of the usual, which we think the intent is actually good, but the hurdles that stands in between the intention and what government stands to achieve by involving the veterans will not be there. That is the issue of corruption, which actually has affected their remunerations in the past, but a lot of them retired with their strength and energy, ever willing to commit to, nation building. We have seen a couple of them volunteering to, protect their areas and environments, villages and bushes, willingly and happily doing that for the purposes of protecting the nation and the community. But if government today decides to engage their services, it's a good one. And it has its own advantages. we have been talking about community policing, vigilante groups, which most times go beyond their boundaries or sometimes do not have the intellectual opening to actually operate based on the modus they are assigned to work. But with the coming of the veterans, I think it will provide a guide, it will provide direction, it will provide commitment, it will also give hope to the communities. And another thing is about their remunerations. This is going to be an opening for the veterans to bargain in as much as their services are needed now. It's an opening for them to have a bargain of convenience between the veterans and the federal government. See, you must do this to make sure that our lives and families are being protected. You must provide all the necessary debts. Whatever you think you are owing us in the past must be given to us before we fall back into line of actions. I think it's a good opening for the veterans to actually sit down now and then give the federal government conditions. If the federal government is actually artistic to discuss, then definitely their demands will be met. Sorry. And then another thing is, if you look at, like my brother has earlier said, these veterans in the past did a lot. But the truth is, during Buhari's administration, their arms were taken off, not just in Plateau State, even in Southern Kaduna. I was a witness, where I'm a witness to that, where single barrel guns that are even approved for vigilante, licensed pump actions guns, and then other gun guns were completely taken off the communities. And people were exposed. They became more vulnerable than ever. And the attacks by these terrorists actually intensified. But even the federal government today decides to engage the veteran, certainly
all right, Mr.
there will be supply of arms and ammunition
Mr. Tanko,
to
please
these
hold
veterans.
the thoughts so that I can just have you answer this. We have seen a lot of people are applauding this initiative. And from your experience, I mean, with the Nigerian government and all of its lofty promises, do you see this becoming a long-term strategy that would work? And also on the flip side, don't you think this is a silent admission that our national security architecture has pretty much collapsed?
Well, I tend to agree with you based on perspectives, but it is not a total collapse. I think it's an effort to make trials to see what will work and what will not work. And for the fact that there is a public admittance that there is a shortfall in military or security activities across the nation, I think we should applaud the government for even accepting that there are gaps that need to be covered. And then we've seen political will to actually take this war to the doorsteps of the terrorists. I believe it will work. It's just a trial, and we hope that the government will actually achieve what they stand to achieve by.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Isaac Tanko.
And let me add lastly.
Okay, lastly.
Let me add lastly. I think it is not just the veterans. I think the federal government should go back as far as trying to trace some of these national guards during Babangida regime. They are still strong. Whatever way they came in and whatever was the intent, I think these people were actually trained, and they should actually trust these people and then add up to the veterans and even train more if need be. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Isaac Tanko, taking us back to the National Guards, Babangida's regime. And, you know, that brings me back to the question of, are we taking in new enlistments, new recruits? Shouldn't we be encouraging people to join the military? If no one is joining the military, if all we are doing is going back to our reserve, then if there is a major issue, don't you think we'll have a bigger problem? But anyway, this is for Taye Adewale. Let's have your thoughts on this one, and then we'll wrap up the conversation.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, a lot has been said concerning this, and in my own opinion, I just believe that the deployment of military retirees at this time is not a sustainable or legally sound solution to Nigerian insecurity, because we can see that these people are already tired. The retirees are the people that they are already tired in the service. So bringing them back into the government, the government system at this time is not sustainable. So it's not. We can actually, the government can recruit the new set of people to actually join the military system instead of calling for these people. So even though they are experienced, but they are tired already. And time for them to go and rest at this time. So bringing them back is not a sustainable idea and long-term solution to control. These people are already in doing so. It is a risk deepening insecurity, because it is not a long-term. It cannot be a long-term deal. It weakens the institution itself. So, but a situation whereby we have the new set of people, the agile people, the strong one, who can actually come and be well trained to handle this case, we can see that it is still very, very going to be effective than bringing the retirees. Some of them are some of them they were not paid well when they were retiring and all. So with this with this aggression, how do you want or believe that these people can still come back to be a leverage by the government at this time?
All right then. All right then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Taye Adewale. That's your conclusion. That's your take on the matter. But of course, we'll continue to keep our eyes on this one and inform our viewers on any other developments. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. We've been speaking with Taye Adewale and also Comrade Isaac Tanko. We've also had Barrister Steve Adders on this conversation, and also we've had Mazi Amobi Ihegberu and Dele Fanimo. Well, I must say thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your contribution. Well, this is where we draw the curtains on VOP this morning. Newspaper review comes up next. On behalf of my colleagues, Chukuma Okoro, Jane Ogoye, I am Moses Humphrey, wishing you a beautiful morning. Join us again at 10 for newspaper review. Bye for now.
VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.